Hello, my name is Matt. I am recording a Let's Play showcasing the aggressive turtling strategy. I'm actually going to load a replay of this instead of just playing it myself right now, because I actually did play through this. I recorded it using Bandicam, but I didn't realize Bandicam uh, limited you to 10 minutes of gameplay footage. So didn't know that, so I played through it, recorded it, thought it recorded everything, and it hadn't. It cut off after 10 minutes. So I'm going to showcase the aggressive turtling strategy. So I'm going to load that. This actually kind of works better because I can show you what I'm doing, but also what my opponent is doing. So what aggressive turtling is you start off the game taking a very offensive posture, but instead of going for the enemy's main base, which would be right here, what I'm doing is I'm aggressively going to the supply points, and there's like a little island right here where there are two supply depots, and there is one, I guess, to the northwest. Well, there's two. Sorry, there's one right across the bridge, and then there's one right before the bridge. So in aggressive turtling, what you do is you send uh, builder units out to those points. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to build up defensive buildings and units around those points. And the idea is you capture and hold those supply points. That's the aggressive part of it. The turtling, of course, is building up your defenses around the supply points. The enemy cannot get them. Now, this strategy requires several things to make it work properly. First and foremost, you need to be able to build anywhere on the map from the beginning. So this strategy doesn't really work in the original Command and Conquer because, as you know, you have to have a building nearby and build out from that. You can't just build anywhere on the map. You have to build near one of your buildings. Of course, you could always use the sandbag glitch, but the problem is that just takes so long and is so costly. Aggressive turtling really isn't effective because of it. So as you can see, like my enemy will, if I cut him off, basically if I grab these supply points, my enemy will only have 2 supply points of their own, whereas I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll have 5 to their 2. So I will have a significant economic advantage to my opponent. Now the big disadvantage to offensive turtling, obviously, is you're vulnerable to rushing early on. You also have to control several points throughout the map, and if it's a large map, that can be very tricky. Ideally, one of the reasons why I chose this map is ideally you want to have choke points that basically act as a force multiplier, because as you can see, they're going to launch attacks on you very quickly. So you really got to get moving. You really got to build up those defensive units. The great thing about Command and Conquer Generals is not only can I build defensive buildings around the supply points, I can also build other buildings that can produce units that can help in the defense. In this case, the big one I'm going to be using are these like rocket soldiers. Of course, we have access to the Patriot Battery, which is an excellent defensive weapon. Now, the big thing you have to watch out for is any offensive units that have a long range that can hit your defensive buildings and defensive units before they can hit them. That means artillery, basically, is the big thing you have to worry about. Artillery and airplanes and aircraft are the big things you have to watch out for. So you really need to make sure that you have units capable of defending against those. Now, the good thing is a lot of those more advanced offensive units, they can't really be built until you tech up. So your enemy's not going to have them until a little bit later in the game. So that gives you time to build up your own defenses around the crucial points. Also, those advanced units, to tech up and to gain those advanced units, cost a lot of money. So by cutting your enemy off from the resources, you are really limiting their ability not only to launch offensives against you, especially later on in the match, but also to tech up and to build more advanced units and to build several advanced units. So this strategy has a lot of advantages after the initial beginning of the game, where you're rushing to capture all the strategic points, all the resource areas, all the resource points. Again, if you can get through the first couple, 2 or 3 or 4 waves of enemies, you're going to have a significant advantage. You're probably going to win the map. If you can hold out for the first, usually I say with aggressive turtling, if you can hold out for the first 5 or so, maybe 10 minutes, it's going on 6 minutes now, chances are you're probably going to win. So if you can hold out for a few waves, you're gonna be in good shape. As you can see, thanks to these choke points along these bridges, it's really hard for the enemy to even get close to my defenses, much less breach them. Okay, so these are the things you're gonna have to watch out for in this map if you're playing against China, are these artillery nuke cannons, because they really can just rip through your defenses. Like I said, fortunately they couldn't build them till a little bit later, so I had a good 6 minutes before these guys showed up. My advice, if you're playing as the U.S. versus China, is to use your airplanes, especially your Aurora bomber units, to take these guys out, because they will mess your stuff up pretty darn quickly, as you're about to see. Yeah, I think they knocked out my construction. My bulldozer, about to knock out one of my Patriot batteries, which really sucks. When I was first playing through this, I didn't notice it for some reason initially, so I kind of had a delayed reaction. I think I was paying attention to this and missed that what was going on here. That's the other thing that kind of sucks about aggressive turtling is you really have to pay attention to a lot of points at once. So you kind of got to split your attention. You got to be really careful and just don't focus too much on one area for too long to the neglect of the other areas you have to control. There are my Aurora bombers. They're trying to grab that little shack to fire at my guys, but as you see, I'm not going to let them. And yeah, like, we're about 8 minutes in. I probably could have rushed this a little bit more. In fact, I'm probably going to be fast forwarding through this in a little bit, just because you get the idea. I don't need to go into too great a detail of this. I find that, by the way, this is not the only Command & Conquer you can use this strategy. I do recommend in Command & Conquer 3, you can actually use a strategy because they do allow you to build anywhere on the map as long as you have a listening post deployed. So you can actually use this in Command & Conquer 3 as well. The original Command & Conquer and Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun and the original Red Alert games, this strategy doesn't work because, again, you can't build anywhere on the map, at least not initially. So yeah, this type of strategy, like I said, does have its limitations, but it can be very effective, and it's my personal preferred strategy, because as you can see, it can be very, very effective. Yeah, took out that Black Lotus. So the other thing you got to watch out for, watch your power, obviously, and also watch out for any super weapons that your enemy might build. I think they're probably okay. Yeah, they already have their their nuclear missile building built, their nuclear silo built. I have one particle cannon. Fortunately, particle cannons don't take that long to charge to fire, so I have an advantage there. Yeah, so watch out for those super weapons, because those could blow up your defenses very easily and punch a hole through your line. So you definitely want to, if you're playing Command and Conquer Generals or playing an RTS that has super weapons enabled, watch out for super weapons and have a way to counter them if your enemy builds one, usually by building your own super weapons. Or in this game, you could use your air units. Um, if you're playing as China, you can actually use Black Lotus if you know what you're doing and sneak her into the enemy base and capture their super weapon, although that is tricky and not always super reliable. Okay. And we're about to destroy the nuke cannon. I think I'm going to fast forward through some of this because I took a little bit longer than I probably had to. Yeah. I took a little bit longer with this map than I probably had to, because this, I will say this about aggressive turtling, it can be a little boring sometimes, because like I said, once you've captured the resource points and cut off your enemy, there's not a lot to do. It's just kind of wait and hang out. Just, you know, there's not a lot your enemy can do, really. I mean, yeah, he could. I'm kind of surprised he's not rushing me with these guys, but I guess he figures, what's the point? Like, he's only throwing a couple units because he realizes, well, what's the point? They've got these choke points. Okay. Yeah. And generals, if you're playing generals, one thing you got to watch out for: to destroy another enemy super weapon, not only do you need your own super weapon to hit it, you also have to have some other attack. When I play as the U.S., I use the A-10 Warthog strike plus my particle cannon. When I play as China, I use a nuclear strike and usually the artillery strike as well. So you need two attacks. Or you can use two super weapons. You can use two particle cannons if you want. I'm going to speed this up because I think you guys get the idea. I don't need to go into super big detail about this. Yeah, like I said, it's... Now, I will say this. If you want, depending on how exactly you want to play, you can build up several super weapons and just slowly but surely, you know, destroy your enemy's base from a distance using those super weapons without using any of your actual units to attack. So if you want to do that, yeah, I'm gonna fast forward a little. Yeah, you can do that just to kind of speed up the game, so you just don't feel like you're sitting around doing nothing. Yeah, trying to launch another attack, but late in the game, sometimes when your enemy's cut off, they might muster whatever strength they can and just throw one last final wave at you, and usually by that point, if you've really done your job right, it's not going to matter. It's not going to mean anything. I mean, I easily destroyed that, and they just retreated because they know they're going to lose. Okay. Yeah. I just destroyed. Now I'm using my particle cannons to just rip through their base. I'm going to destroy their propaganda center so they can't build any more advanced units. I've already destroyed... Sorry, I think I fast forwarded. I destroyed their internet center so they can't generate income. For those of you who don't know, in Command & Conquer Generals, you can actually build units that can actually produce their own income. So this takes a departure from the usual RTS formula, where it's not just about collecting resources. You can generate your own resources if you want. So that kind of adds an element of tactics over the strategy to this, but I kind of prefer it. I like it. Of course, once you gather all the resources from this resource point, it doesn't regenerate, so at this point I'm just holding this just so my enemy can't attack my base. That's one of the other good things about certain maps when using the strategy is not only can you capture the resource point to get the resources, you can capture it to block the enemy from gaining access to your base. So that's of course why I have the defenses here on the central bridge, because there's There's no resources right next to it. It's just I'm trying to keep them from getting to my base. Yeah, and as you can see at this point, I mean, you know, they still have quite a few units. I mean, if I were to launch an attack with my own tanks and other offensive units, I'd probably win, but it would, you know, take a lot of casualties. So at this point, I could just chip away whatever they have left, which is, you know, exactly what I'm going to do. Sorry, I'm going to fast forward this because, yeah, see, I just took out a couple of their buildings. I'm going to start taking out their power plants in a second because, you know, why not? So, say now they're... soon I'm going to start focusing on taking out their command center. And unfortunately, to take out the command center, you need, like, basically, like, 3 major attacks. You usually need, like, 2 super weapons and usually a 3rd attack of some kind, either another super weapon or something like an artillery strike or A-10 Warthog strike. So now that I've got the command center destroyed, the only other way they can build any buildings, is the construction bulldozers. So if I destroy those plus the command center, they can't build anything anymore. So now I'm going to focus, of course, on destroying all of their construction bulldozers. Oh, one thing to watch out, if you destroy their command center but they still have a construction bulldozer, they can actually just build another command center. So you got to make sure it's not like the original Command & Conquer where if you capture the construction yard, they can't build anything anymore. In this game, if they have a construction dozer, they can rebuild their command center to build more construction dozers. So just be aware of that. If you've never played Command & Conquer Generals before, but if you're watching this, I'm assuming you probably have. Yeah, I really went crazy with the particle cannon this time. I love the particle cannon. It's awesome. Now I'm destroying their power plants because, you know, why not? Take their power out. So if I want to launch my, destroyed the last construction dozer there and their supply center. So yeah, without even sending a single unit other than, you know, I think I sent the Aurora bombers in here a couple times. I didn't send any other, at least no offensive ground units into their base, and won. Yep, they're surrendering. So, okay, that was aggressive turtling. Like I said, it's a great strategy. I enjoy using it. I find it to be very effective. As you can see, I only lost 37 units to their 140 units that they lost. I collected 216,180 supplies, or supply units, whatever, I guess money, $216,000, whatever. They only collected $58,712 in supplies. So I collected like, what would that be? Yeah, about almost 4 times what they collected. You know, and again, because I had so many more supply depots than they did. So yeah, it's definitely, it's a great strategy. Again, you need to have a map that you can build anywhere from the beginning and have choke points. A wide open map, this doesn't quite work very well on, but you can still potentially do it. It's just trickier. And yeah, it's a very effective strategy. I do recommend it if you're playing an RTS like Command & Conquer. But I'll be going over other strategies in other videos that you can use as well that can be very effective. I will cover rushing in one of these videos, but I don't recommend it as a strategy generally unless there's some special situation that basically requires it. And when I do that video, I probably will show one of the few times where, yeah, you kind of have to do it. But anyway, thank you very much. This has been Matt. Have a great day.